Hello everyone, welcome to another video for my channel Automation Hub Sathak. Sincere apologies, I have not been able to upload videos. I have been keeping damn busy. Anyways, we'll start today with another topic in Java, which is if-else statement in Java. So let's begin without. So we'll just go through the certain concepts prior to getting into the code section of it. So let's discuss this if-else in Java. So first and foremost, we'll learn about the if statement. Okay, let's get to know what exactly if statement is. So if statement is something like if there will be a certain condition. Okay, this is the syntax. If there will be a certain condition, and then if that condition is satisfied, and then you will write your block of code here. Block of code which you need to execute. Okay, and then so if the condition is true, this code will get executed. Now what happens here, this condition, it can be true or it can be false, right? So if in case the condition is true, this block of code will be executed, else it will not get executed, or it will just come out. So that is how it is. So let's go in a very positive well, let's go with the positive scenario first, and let's get into Eclipse. We'll create a new Java class. We'll write it the if else. Okay, it is asking for. So let's do this. Let's begin. Okay, before I discuss something, first and foremost, you need to understand that Java actually supports the usual logical conditions of mathematics. Okay, like how do you compare two operators or give certain conditions whether it is true or false. So Java uses the typical mathematical logical conditions, like the let's say for example less than. So it works. Okay, so A is less than B, for example. Okay, so the less than operator works. Similarly, greater than operator works. Then less than or equal to also works, and greater than and equal to. Then equal to. This is the syntax, and then not equal to. So these are the different mathematical conditions Java works with. So let me put this in comment so that you can refer to it later. Okay, so these are the conditions. I am just removing A and B as well. Okay, so it's very simple. Everyone knows about this thing, so I'm not emphasizing too much here. Okay, so less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and not equal to. These are the logical conditions which Java typically supports. Now let's go about the if statement. If you remember, this is the syntax. So if the condition and the block of code, and depending upon the condition being true or false, the block of code will execute or will come out. So let's say for example, uh, we will write directly if 1 is less than 2. Okay, now system.out.println, the condition is true. Okay, so this is a very simple condition. In this case, the condition is true because 1 is less than 2. 1 is less than true, so the condition is true here. So if this condition is true, remember guys, if this condition inside the if block is true, then the block of code will get executed. Okay, so our output should be the condition is true. So let's run this. First let me save it and let's run this. See, the condition is true. So in the output we got this, right? The condition is true. Now let's say for example I will remove this. Not remove it, I'll just no, leave it like that. It'll rather confuse you guys. So now let's say for example this condition is not true, I'm making it false. Okay, so 1 is greater than 2. Now what happens is 1 is not less than 2, so this condition is actually false. So what will happen here, what is happening, why there are some dead code, what is dead about the code? Okay, so let's say for example I will run this. Now this condition is actually false, right? 1 is not greater than 2. Okay, so let's run this. So you will not get any output. Why? Because since this condition is not true, the block of code will not get executed. So what is the solution for this? Herein comes another thing which is known as else. So we'll go back to, so here comes else. So what does else does? What it does is it will help you to run the block of code if the same condition is false in case of the if statement. Okay, I'll simplify. Else is generally used to specify a block of code to be executed if the if condition is false. So let's say for example here the condition, let's say for example I'll remove this, the condition is false. Just for example, like I'll say if this condition is false, so this block of code will not be executed. So we'll write here else. Okay, and the we'll write block of code, and that's it. So let's go back to Eclipse and try this. So here we'll write else remove all this. I don't understand why it is showing a lot of. Okay guys, now you can see here this condition is false. Of course 1 is not greater than 2, so here this is a false condition. I've just printed this thing, else this thing will get printed. So now let's see what exactly is the output. I'll save this, run this. See, the condition is false. This output is printed. So as per the definition of else, if the condition specified in the if statement is not true, then the system will ask Java to print whatever the condition is mentioned in the else block. So here this condition is not true, this is a false condition, so the system will print this thing out. Let's say for example I change this to the true condition. I will now make it a true condition. So you can see this becomes a warning because this thing becomes unnecessary. You don't need. In case the if statement is true, else is not required. As simple as that. In case the else if condition is actually false, then the else would be required. So that is the basic difference, and combination they work, and we use this quite a lot in Selenium as well. Uh, we generally use mostly with dot equals to for string operations, but I'll come to that. As of now, just remember this. This is how if and else statement works. Now we will use another something known as else if. So we will use now else if. Now what is, your question would be what is else if? See, let's say for example, I just gave one example of just one conditions. What if there are multiple conditions? Let's say for example, you have three integers. Okay, I'm removing this. Let's say for example, there are three integers like int I equal to 10, okay, int j equals to 20, int k equals to 30. So now there is a question which will be asked: find the greatest of these integers, of the three integers. Okay, or you can say find the smallest. It is up to you of the three. So how will you do this using if and else? So in this situation, the else if condition comes alive. So let me showcase to you with an example. If let's say I is less than j and j is less than k, so this becomes a condition, right? So what is the condition here? I is less than j, which is true. J is less than k, which is actually true. So here true and true, there are two conditions I have specified here: I less than j, 10 is less than 20, j is less than k, 20 is less than 30. So both are true. Okay, so now we will write the code. So this is actually true. Okay, so now I is the smallest. Okay, so let's take the printout. Let's check the output. So this condition is exactly true, it is working fine. Now what in case one of these conditions is actually not true? So let me do one thing. If I'll write here, if I is greater than j, which is not true, and j is greater than k, which again is not true, I is the smallest. Okay, so let's see whether this works. See, you will get no output. Why? Because this is a false condition, and this one, the other condition is also a false condition. This one is a false condition, and this one is a false condition. So the printout will not happen. In this case, we can use something like this: else if. So we'll go via, we'll take this into the else if arena now. So else if I is greater than j and j is less than k, so I is the smallest. Okay guys, now look very carefully here. This condition I is greater than j is false. Okay, now this condition j is less than k is true. So there are false and true. So what will be the final output? It will still remain false, right? Both these conditions have to be true, otherwise this thing will not get printed. So now let me run this again. You will see there will be no output. See, there is no output here, absolutely blank. So this is where the else if comes into picture. Now we will say, we'll make both the conditions true. I is less than j and j is less than k. You can do this, you can avoid this. So else see. So this is what is the difference between if and else, if and else. So here what happens is, if if there are multiple conditions which can be logically validated, that is where else if comes into picture. Here both the conditions are false. Here one of the condition is false. So since this if condition is false, else if is false, so we come back to else and this prints out. So this is nothing but which we also known as nested if. So this is mostly about if and else statements, and you can practice these. It's not much big of a deal. So it is very easy, and you can practice this and you can learn. I've just given very basic examples. I think this should suffice. So thank you for watching and all the best. Take care. Signing off.